The Wizard Falls, the Atlas Mountains, beautiful scenery, beautiful food, tagines, the Red Square of Marrakesh, and a vibrant, colorful culture. Morocco is known for its being a fairly easily accessible country from Europe in the winter months. I've been, and it was about 22 degrees in January. It's fantastic. Beautiful food and vibrance, but beneath that shroud, beneath that facade lies a very dark reality that Christians particularly are facing routine and horrendous persecution. I'm Reagan King, and joined as always by my good friend and co-host for the Persecuted Church as we discuss Morocco. How are you, Alistair?
I'm very well. Looking forward to discussing this program. It's an area I've never been myself. My son went there as a teenager because, you know, it was definitely one of those places that teenagers were drawn to. But we had several of our workers, missionaries from Kingdom Faith Church, who spent a lot of time in Morocco, Tunisia. Beautiful place, and you know, I love the food. You know, like you're talking about food, it's making my mouth water even now. But it's not the same if you're going out there on a mission from the Lord. And I really believe my heart is, if I'm going anywhere on holiday, I want to have the opportunity to be a witness for our God and for the gospel. And nations like that, you really have to understand that there is a lot of controls on what you can say, who you can speak to, and yes, there's a lot of people who will take advantage of you. So, but yeah, it's very important for us to make people aware it is one of the nations where Christianity is persecuted quite a lot.
Well, I've been twice, and on one of those occasions was actually Rachel and I's honeymoon, and we went over it, and it was great. I still actually, there'll be times that I'll maybe catch a waft from a Moroccan restaurant or something, or see something that throws me back, and I'll tell Rachel, I'll say, it's very weird, I know, but I have a bit of a nostalgia for Morocco at the moment. And what that is, generally speaking, is because there were some nice elements to it. And we had a great time. We were able to go into the Atlas Mountains. We were able to go up next to the Wizard Falls. It was fun, good food, good time together. We even were able to meet some believers there, and there certainly are Christians who are in the international community who, one of our favorite parts of the trip were meeting some people who were involved in the international church that was there. But the reality of that church's experience, which will go nameless, and the reality of local Moroccan believers' experience is one of great difficulty. And while, you know, it's easy to reflect on a lot of the good, there was also some negative and very stressful moments. The culture can be very, very difficult, and it's my Moroccan friends would affirm there's a lot of thieving and dishonesty that goes on as well. But it has that reality of being a destination. At the same time, there's horrible persecution of believers.
Well, the thing is, it's definitely a very affordable, good holiday. Yeah. If you go there, you get very good food, good accommodation at affordable prices for Europeans, particularly for Brits. But as you say, if you go as a believer, you have to be aware of the restrictions that are there. And yeah, you go there and you can enjoy the good things. I mean, I would think if I was to go to Morocco, I would see it more as a prayer holiday. So you wouldn't necessarily gospelize, if that's such a word, anyone unless, you know, the Lord opens the door. But to do prayer walks around the cities, prayer walks down the beaches and so on. So you can enjoy it. You can enjoy the food and everything else, but also serve the Lord in some way. I mean, that's my heart's desire wherever I go, is some way that I'm either going to be praying for something or having a time where I can proclaim something, declare something, whether it's on my own or loud for people to, so it's heard by the heavenlies at least.
Well, we don't take a break from being a Christian, do we? Yeah. So, you know, we go on holiday, but that doesn't change who we are in the heart.
24/7. 24/7, we're on mission, aren't we?
Exactly.
Whether it's in our own backyard or in our own communities or whether we're on holiday. It's great to enjoy holidays, though.
Yeah, and consistently in the top 30 most dangerous places to be a follower of Jesus. Open Doors, we love our friends at Open Doors, and of course the other agencies that are out there being of aid in discipling and aiding the persecuted church around the world. But in the top 30 most dangerous places to be a Christian, and it's generally, it doesn't come into the discussion. A friend of mine, we talk and we laugh, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. He's a believer from Morocco. And, it's a refugee, and we've kind of joked about how he's the wrong type of refugee. Right. And what we've meant by that is he's found himself sometimes in people's hosting and accommodation and whatnot, where they hear he's from Morocco, and even at a church meeting one time, someone said, "Oh, so where are you from?" "I'm from Morocco." "Oh, lovely. Oh, it's lovely." And he sort of is like, no, he will laugh, and because he just thinks it's quite amusing. It's like, yeah, but you're thinking tagine, you're thinking holiday, exactly. You're thinking nice things, you're thinking these things. It's not really lovely at all. I'm here because I'm a Christian and I wasn't welcome in my own country. It's phenomenal.
And I think that's why we're doing this program.
Exactly.
And featuring nations which are in the top 50, are in the top 30. I mean, I'm quite surprised with Morocco being in the top 30, because I hadn't thought of it that way myself, although I know what goes on when missionaries go out there. But Tunisia, which is a next door neighbor to Morocco, they had the big terrorist attack not so long ago, but I don't know of anything as enormous as that in Morocco. But it's in the top 30, so there are things going on behind the scenes that make it difficult for Christians to practice their Christianity.
So the primary source, perhaps unsurprisingly, is Islamic oppression. And this is the primary source of persecution of Christians around the world.
Yep.
When we collate everything, there are of course exceptions. There are places, you can think of Colombia, you can think of India, you can think of other places in that kind of category, China as well, where the primary issue is not Islam, but the primary issue around the world is, all taken into account, Islamic oppression. And it's the same in Morocco. Government officials, non-Christian religious leaders, citizens from a broader society. There are mobs that are stirred up against believers particularly, and of course one's own and extended family, particularly for those who leave Islam, for those who find Jesus out of Islam. A recurrent problem for Christians, according to Open Doors, is particularly for those who are open about their faith. And there's Article 220 of the Penal Code of Morocco, which criminalizes, this is the expression used, shaking the faith of a Muslim. So if you do something, or you say something, or you give something or react in a certain way that shakes the faith of a Muslim, which is quite a broad.
It's very broad. Yeah, it makes it's not very precise, and it can more or less cover anything. You could have a conversation and be arrested for it.
Someone just takes umbrage at maybe they know you're a Christian and you say, "God bless you."
Exactly.
It's shaking my faith. or you can give a copy of the Injil, the New Testament, Gospels, whatever, something, and it's about Jesus, and that's shaken my faith. And this can be something that is used as a manipulation tool as well, where even I'm sure there are people who are blackmailed as a result of this.
I know every Islamic nation I've worked in, that's been the biggest problem, where people allege you or accuse you of something, and basically you are then guilty unless you can prove yourself innocent. And it's very difficult when you've got many ones who will stand against you, and you've got no one who'd say, "No, you didn't say that." So yeah, I can understand what you're saying there.
The law only technically punishes what's called proselytization, gospelization. I like that terminology that you use. That's fantastic. Evangelization, evangelism, basically sharing the gospel, discipleship. The law does criminalize that. So talking with Moroccan believers, you can never do this. You can't give out Bibles. You can't do these things openly there. It is criminal behavior according to the law in Morocco. It's done, but it has to be done very secretly and very quietly. Many Christians who are Moroccan and foreign who talk to others about their faith find themselves at risk of this criminal prosecution and arrest. And advocates for the rights of Christians have also been targeted by the government for their activities. There's a threat that remains as well from various radical Islamist groups, although those are fewer in number in Morocco at the moment. They, of course, are present, and there are impacts on family life as well. I think it'd be good to hear firsthand from a Moroccan believer and to hear the story firsthand of what he has experienced. Of course, for security and personal reasons, we have shielded his identity, but here's what he has had to say.
Hello, my name is Murad. I'm from Morocco. I became Christian 5 years ago, 4 years ago. So my journey to my Savior, Jesus Christ, wasn't easy. It was after years of thinking, of interacting, and a lot of things. So basically, life in Morocco for a Christian it's hard. It's no life there. You don't have any rights as a citizen, as a Christian. You can't, for example, the basic rights, you can't get them there. Like you can't get married. You can't give your if you have kids, you can't give them Christian names. You need to give them Muslim names. You need to get married with Muslim way. So when I'm meeting people in the UK, and they ask me where I'm from, and I'm saying I'm from Morocco, they say, "Oh, lovely! It's amazing." So because life, it's not like the same if you are a tourist or you're for visiting for a week for holidays. It's not like there your life. In my country, you can't share the gospel with friends. You can't give it to anyone, and you can't say, "Hi, I'm a Christian." No, because it's forbidden by law. You can get imprisoned. And I know that's a few examples of people they get imprisoned of that before. So basically, the authorities, when they catch you, they will not see it in public that we have problem with you because you're sharing the gospel. Sorry, but they can charge you other things behind what they want. So if you are a Muslim and you choose to become a Christian, so that means automatically that you will be ashamed on the society. You'll be shamed on your family, on your friends. No one will be in touch with you. No one wants accept you. In jobs, you don't have access to jobs if they know that what you are believing in. You need to practice your faith as Moroccans did in houses, home secretly. We have church at home secretly. People get baptized in bathrooms. You can't buy a Bible. You can't get it paper. You can get it online. But if you try to speak to someone else, to your friends, to share your faith, for example, that you will be really in trouble. You will be persecuted. You can be imprisoned. In Morocco, if you went there, so you must have a good food, good weather. You can have sun and nice things. So that's totally different of what's going on. There is no freedom of speech. Actually, now in Morocco, there's a lot of journalists in prison because of freedom of speech. A lot of people now, they get imprisoned because of that. So you can get a tagine, you can eat couscous, and you can have a cup of tea with a mint. but you can't say what do you think about. I'm asking Christians around the world to pray for Christian Moroccans, to pray for them to get the freedom of belief and get them the wisdom to act and react with what's going on in the environment there with the society, with the authorities and everything, and pray for them to give them a way to the light.
What a very good report there, and that's the reality of life, you know, in these Islamic nations where you and I would go and have a very good holiday, not even thinking in terms of how difficult it is. It's like we've talked about it before, and we're talking about it again today. In most of these Islamic nations, you are seen as a tourist, and so you're a money machine. They'll treat you like, you know, like a piece of gold, because you are carrying gold for them. But for a believer or a Muslim to convert particularly, the problems they incur from their own family, from everything they do. And as was just shared in that interview, how easy it is they can use your words against you. You can say the simplest thing, which in this country, yeah, we sometimes think we are belittled, I think, rather than persecuted as Christians in this country. But in nations like Morocco and several other Islamic nations, to convert to Christianity is a big, big, difficult step. And well done to that man for sharing sharing stories which make me realize, if I go to these nations, you got to treat fellow believers there in a special way, because they are paying a price.
Several Moroccan Christians were reportedly arrested in the past year, and these public arrests have had a chilling effect, stigmatizing Moroccan Christians both in front of their families and communities, making them basically unemployable. The pervasive monitoring that Moroccan Christians are under, and including the international Christians as well, to ensure that they're not proselytizing, forces many Moroccan Christians into a state of self-censorship. There's also cases of violence against Moroccan Christians where we see the police almost always side with the perpetrators of that violence, with several house churches of Moroccan Christians being forced to stop meeting by police. At least 3 cases of forced marriages in the past year being reported of women particularly who have left Islam and they're forced to marry a Muslim. In addition, several converts from Islam to Christianity being relocated against their will as well, with many Moroccan Christians having to relocate inside the country due to family pressures, and many, like our friend you just heard from, also having to leave the country. Several non-Moroccan Christians have been banned from the country or not allowed to enter because they were found or felt to have been guilty of evangelizing. And although conversion from Islam is not strictly prohibited in practice, the Middle East concern MEC Morocco has said that legal provisions strictly prohibit blasphemy and defamation of religions, as well as non-Islamic proselytism. According to the Penal Code, anyone who attempts to prevent persons from the exercise of their religious beliefs, and anyone who offers incitements in order to shake the faith of a Muslim, as we were talking about, or to convert a Muslim to another religion, faces imprisonment and a fine. And then, of course, there's the subsequent ostracization as well of those who do leave Islam and come to faith in Jesus. And the Sharia courts are actively involved.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this in other nations too in the past programs, where if you do convert, or even if you are, you're born into Christianity in these nations, it's very, very hard to find decent work, because you're just criminalized. No, I think that's not the right word, but you're certainly not getting any favor for the best jobs. So you can see, I mean, just listening to that young guy giving his testimony of how difficult it was for him because he was a believer. You're not even allowed to choose your own names. As a Christian, you have to choose an Islamic or a Muslim name, which is really tough.
The reason for that, Alistair, is quite interesting because International Christian Concern, a wonderful organization that also helps those, raises the plight of the persecuted church around the world, they have indicated that the penal code in Morocco holds that all Moroccans are Muslims. So, and this is why if you ask an Islamic Moroccan about the faith in their country, 100% Muslim, 100%. It's nonsense, as it is in any Islamic nation, but the penal code views all Moroccans as Muslims. So anyone who is a Christian is not authentically Moroccan in that sense. So Christian converts have faced serious legal repercussions if found out. International Christian Concern reports that as a result, Christianity is not legally recognized in Morocco. And so foreign Christians are generally, despite this, they are allowed freedom of worship while in the country, but Moroccan Christian converts can be sent to jail for participating in foreigners' worship services. So the international churches cannot publicly invite or publicly be seen to be involved in discipling Muslims or native Moroccans. And this is how it's been put. If a Moroccan enters a church, one of two things can happen. Either a policeman sitting in front of the church arrests him or her, or the cleric in charge of the church asks the person to leave unless the purpose is tourism. Moroccan Christians worship in secret house churches to avoid state sanctions or harassment from society. And this is the Jawad Al-Hamidi, president of the Moroccan Association of Rights and Religious Liberties.
You know the man, the young man personally, I believe he's part of your church congregation. Does he feel threatened even being abroad? I mean, just seeing that we're doing this interview and disguising his looks and so on, I assume there's a threat for him even if he's abroad.
100%. 100%. He was staying in a particular area of London while a refugee. This is the state of our government where they are placing people who are refugees because of Islamic persecution in very Islamic areas, rooming with extremely Islamic people. And he was under a great deal of stress and terrified, really, because of the extreme form of Islam that some of the individuals in his refugee center appeared to be practicing. And so we've talked about that, and you know, these are the areas, very, very real areas of concern. Thankfully, he's no longer there and no longer exposed to it, but it was a very, very real concern.
Because we know there are certain parts of London which are basically very Islamic. I mean, you know, there's places in West London where I ministered a lot, and as a Christian, to be put into an area because of your birthplace, where you're going to be surrounded by people who basically just want to do the same to you as happened back in the nation where you came from, doesn't make any sense. And I suppose it's something we need to be even not only praying about, but talking to our MPs and so on, to make them realize, you know, if a Christian is put into an Islamic area because he's from an Islamic nation, he's in possibly more danger than from where he came out of. So it's very important to place them and position them in the right place where they get the support of a church like yours. So, you know, I watched that interview and think of this young man, and he's probably one of the few who has actually managed to get away. There are probably many others, and I know there are many others in Morocco, in Tunisia, and other nations, because some of our people have been working out there as missionaries. And we need to be not only praying for those who are in the nation, but those who are trying to settle into a Christian environment in our nation, that they would find a church like Pastor Reagan has just shared about, where they can look after them, they can encourage them, pray with them, and just shepherd them. You know, that's what pastoring is all about, shepherding the ones who are out of their natural environment.
I have the privilege of knowing and recently baptizing another Moroccan brother, and this particular brother, this was part of his testimony. He said, my mother and my father used to send me to the mosque to learn the Quran, and they also wanted me to go to the small town to study more about it. But for me, I wasn't interested, because for me, I have feelings inside my heart that the writing in the Quran is not true. I also used to watch the film of the Messenger Ahmed or Muhammad, and could even see an example. I couldn't even see an example of him or his face. There are many lies in it. My mother and my father used to tell me to never believe the Christian because they go to hell after they die, and maybe even Muslims are going to go to hell. So one day I talked to myself and I said, Islam religion is not true religion. So Muhammad is not real, and the Islam is crime and terror based on too many things. Then I started to come here, so when I started to be a Christian, my life started to change for the better. I started to come out from the darkness as life to the light's life. Jesus is real.
Wonderful.
And so there are many people who are seeing the truth despite the gloom, despite the shadows, despite the darkness, despite the oppression. The light of the gospel is breaking through to Moroccans. And you may be a Moroccan believer, you may be from Morocco, you may be in Morocco and you've encountered this program. Our hearts, our minds are with you. Perhaps you are a believer in Jesus Christ. Continue to stand firm. We are your brothers and sisters here praying for you. Maybe you are a Moroccan who has not yet turned to Jesus. Turn to Jesus and live. Look for who he really is. Look at the primary source material. Muhammad only came about 600 to 700 years after the accounts of the New Testament. Look at the primary source material and to see who Jesus really claims to be. Remember that so much of Northern Africa was impacted by the good news, the gospel of Jesus Christ. And ask yourself whether or not Islam is bringing good news to Northern Africa, whether or not Islam is bringing good news to the world, whether or not it brings a message of peace, of love, of truth, of hope, of help, a message that is truly righteous. Ask yourself those questions, come to Jesus and live.
And as we say to all our viewers here, you know, when you hear these testimonies and these stories about Islamic nations like Morocco, be thankful to God that we have a freedom to practice our faith, to share our faith. And yes, maybe some people will talk you down for that. But, you know, my mantra, if you like, for all of our viewers and for myself, and this is a reminder by doing the Persecuted Church, is like, you know, there's a more famous program that says something similar. But my message to you is keep praying. Keep praying for our brothers and sisters in these nations, because they are practicing their faith in very, very difficult situations. They are under threat of their lives almost daily. So, you know, the least we can do for our brothers and sisters in these nations is pray for them. Just as in that interview, that was a request for Christians worldwide. Pray for the Moroccan Christians who are trying to survive, really. We want to see the gospel going out further, but we want to see our brothers and sisters surviving and sharing their faith more and more. So keep praying for these people.